Get ready to enter the Thrivetime Show.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, now we here.
We started from the bottom, now we're on the top, teaching you the systems to get what we got. Colin Dixon's on the hooks, I break down the books. Z's bringing some wisdom and the good looks. As the father of five, that's why I'm alive. So if you see my wife and kids, please tell them hi. It's the C&Z up on your radio, and now 3, 2, 1, here we go.
We started from the bottom, now we here. We started from the bottom, and
All right, Aaron Antis, on today's show, we're talking about how to grow a successful company, and specifically looking at the idea of what would happen if you were abducted by an alien for 30 days. What would happen to your business? Well, first off, you probably have bigger things to worry about if you did get abducted by an alien. You might think, well,
probably wouldn't be worried about the business.
but somebody might go, well, I wonder what's happened with my business down there. But anyway, or maybe the alien takes you down below the earth. Maybe you wonder what's happened up there. I mean, maybe who knows? But the idea is, what if you disappeared from your business for 30 days? What would happen? Could the business run without you? That's the idea. Could the business run without you? So if you go to thrivetimeshow.com/millionaire, you can download all of the books I've ever written for free. You can download them for free. But we're going to read specifically from this book called A Millionaire's Guide: How to Become Sustainably Rich. A step-by-step guide to building a successful money-generating and time freedom-creating business. And we're going to page 54 of the book, and then we'll introduce today's guest here. So here we go. What if you were abducted by an alien for 30 days? I realize that asking you what would happen to your business if you were abducted by aliens may cause you to wonder, what is wrong with me, and if I have a firm grasp on reality. However, just for a second, let's suppose that you were abducted by aliens for 30 days who were focused on picking your brain, trying to figure out what the mullet is all about, why the heck Americans use a representative delegate system for determining the presidency of the United States, and why we are willing to exchange goods and services in exchange for paper fiat currency. So now you're gone from your business for 30 days, and the question is, will your business survive? So I'm going to walk you through how my businesses work, and I'm going to ask Matt Klein to share the same thing here, because you want to have a system for everything. So I'm going to pull up a diagram, because a lot of us are visual, primarily those that have vision. So we're going to pull this up here. And this is my new book here, and we're going to go here in this book up to page 4 of the book and just give you kind of a diagram, a look into what a successful business should look like on page 5. Page 5, here we go. So page 5. There's all these different boxes, the parts of the business that have to be in shape or in tune to work well. And if you have a business and one of these systems isn't working, other things begin to fall apart. And so we're going to talk to Matt Klein specifically about OxyFresh. So Matt Klein, first, why does every OxyFresh owner, everybody who buys an OxyFresh franchise, even though the business systems work very well, why do they as the owner have to know their revenue goals? Why do they have to have their goals and they can't be Matt Klein's goals?
Yeah, I mean, if you don't have goals, what are you shooting for, right? Your days are pretty unstructured if you don't have an actual goal to get to. And that could be a yearly goal, a monthly goal, a weekly goal. But yeah, I mean, goals are extremely important. If you just say, I want to be successful, it's like, all right, well, what does that mean, right? It can mean a lot to different people. Some people's success are absolutely other people's failures. So you got to figure out what you're trying to do and have a process to get you there, and then dial that down to a daily activity.
The other day, Aaron, yesterday I went to Whole Foods with my kids. Yeah. And my kids know this, but every Sunday I try to extend my marriage for 7 more days.
That's a good.
So one of my moves is I go to Whole Foods and I buy everything that my wife likes. So when she comes home, it's there. I do it every Sunday. It's like my move,
That's a super move.
So and again, I just try to, when you're like me, you got to work hard to extend that marriage 7 more days. You got to have goals, folks. Now, break even numbers, Matt. You got to know what it costs to break even. Now, because it costs me about $150 every Sunday to keep my marriage going. I got to buy flowers. I got to get organic chocolate, and it's got to be the chocolate with a story.
That's
James.
your break even.
James, you know what I'm talking about? The $7 candy bar.
It's got the story on the back. It's written and made by some guy in Peru.
These candy bars were made by a man in the foothills of the Appalachians.
It says, remember those? Have you seen that, Aaron?
No, I have not seen that.
You haven't?
No.
James, you've seen it.
Of course. Yeah, they're pretty funny.
Yeah, can we get
candy bar with a
because
story.
me, I'm thinking, let's get Reese's peanut butter cups. No, you can't.
Let's get
They don't have a story. They have a story too.
Justin's peanut butter cups. They're handmade by Justin, who chooses not to use machinery. He chooses to use his own hands.
It's just
And therefore it costs
He
$7.
roasts each peanut by himself and he hand roasts it slowly.
I went to high school
He
with
has
a girl
himself.
whose grandfather invented the filling for Reese's Pieces. It's called panucci. That's a story, right?
And not only does Justin hand make the chocolate, but he drills wells for people in Africa.
That's $12. Okay, so
Price just went up.
you got your break-even numbers, Matt. You got to know how much does it cost just to break even every week to keep the lights on, Matt. Why is it important that all OxyFresh franchise owners know their break-even numbers?
Yeah, because if you are running a business and you have a budget, and now no one has an unlimited, or most people don't have unlimited money sitting there. You're gonna have a certain amount of money in the bank, and then you're either gonna make money that week or lose money that week. And if you don't know what that is, and you aren't paying attention, and every week you have a little less in that bank account, right? You either have a spending problem or your business doesn't make any money. Right. And so you got to be able to, no one's doing this to become poor.
Well, not everybody can hang with Matt Klein. I mean, some people don't have a break-even point that's $40,000 every Tuesday, but Matt Klein, he's bling bling. That's what he does. But no, but seriously, everyone's got their own break-even point. You need to know that. Now, box 3 is you got to know the hours you're willing to work. Now, I'm not going to offend everybody out there, just 90% of the listeners. That's okay, because there's still 10%. You're my guys. You're my people. So the book of Genesis, which I like, I think it's true. The book of Exodus, which I like, I think it's true. Both of those books advocate working 6 days a week and resting on the 7th.
True.
Now, in 1938, not to get political, but in 1938, our socialist president by the name of FDR, who was married to a lesbian, decided to roll out the Fair Labor Standards Act, which made a 40-hour work week possible.
This is true.
So whether you like that or not, that's just the facts. That's when it changed, 1938. So, Matt, you played basketball at a very high level in high school, very, very high level. You led the state in scoring in your junior year or senior year?
My senior year, I led the state in the regular season. But
how many points a game? How many points a game? Come on.
All year. About 29.
Sick.
29?
This guy's got swine flu. He's nauseated.
Good, man.
Send him to quarantine. He's got syphilis. Malaria. Oh, tsetse fly just bit him. Rare disease. Okay. So, Matt, when you were playing basketball at a high level, how often were you in the gym playing basketball or lifting weights?
Every day.
That's right.
My goal was to play Division I college basketball, and I knew that at the level when I was maybe a freshman or sophomore, if I stayed there was no chance.
How tall are you?
About 5'10", 5'11".
How tall were you?
I could
were
have
you like 6'4" at that time?
I was about the same size, actually. I was an early bloomer.
But I'm just saying, is there certain people that want success, but they don't want to put in the work?
Definitely.
Right? So my whole thing, and people don't have to agree with me, but I like to wake up at 3. I work till 6. I do it 6 days a week. I find I have time to get stuff done. Now, if someone else, you want to work 9 to 5, do it. Okay. But figure out the hours you need that you're willing to work and then talk about it with your spouse, So my kids, they went to this cheer competition in Nashville. Was it in Atlanta this weekend? And guess who didn't go? I didn't go. Why? Because I don't want to go.
No.
And I don't feel bad about it. We've already discussed it. Now, somebody else, you in your family, you have to go to Atlanta to watch the cheer event. And that's good. I feel your pain. I pray for you. Mm-hmm. But you as a couple have to figure out your goals because, Matt, what if you got your OxyFresh rolling, it's just balling out of control, but your husband's not happy with your hours, or your wife's not happy with the hours, or you can't get on the same page. I'm sure you've never seen that at OxyFresh. Matt, why do you have to be on the same page with your whole team about how many hours per week you got to work?
Yeah, I mean, what is your ultimate goal? Is your ultimate goal to work forever and not have a good home life? I mean, you have to have some sort of balance.
Controversial strategy.
It is. I mean, you got to try to figure out what your balance is, right? I mean, some wives probably want their husbands to work all of the time, and then husbands to work no time. So I do think it matters what the family dynamic is and what you're expected to do. It's like, if you want me to make $5 million a year and you want me to never work at nights or weekends, it's like, good luck. I don't know how you can do that.
You got to run drugs.
Kudos to you. But you just have to figure out what your goals are, right? I mean, and if you have a family and kids, they're going to take a certain amount of time for you. And if your goals align with your kids and your wife's schedule or whatever, but most of the time that's not just going to happen, right? You have to have the conversation. You got to figure out what's going to happen, put an actual plan into place. Like, your goals should be your goals, and and that's the same thing with your family. So it's tough for really successful business people to also have a really successful family dynamic.
Now,
Clay,
Matt, oh,
if,
yeah,
if you're a drug mule, though,
well,
then
if
you
you're
only
a
need.
drug mule and you want to get rich quick,
you can work like 4 hours, depending on how long your colon is. You can work a shorter amount of time per month and still make a pretty good income.
There are options out there.
Now, if you're going to do that, don't. But okay, so
Well, don't sneeze while you're on the plane. Not too hard. I've heard that's deadly.
Wait, why not? Explain that to us.
this industry.
That's what I've heard
Okay, so
from my lawyer over here.
okay. So there's a three-legged marketing stool. You have to have a turnkey way to get customers. Now, I'm going to let people know a secret, and then everybody out there, you can write down my secrets. If you go to Elephant in the Room, our haircut chain, if you go to Tip Top Canine, the dog training franchise I'm involved in, if you go to any of my businesses, I have a three-legged marketing system for every company.
Yeah.
And I commit to 3 ways that work, and I do them over and over again. I don't have 407 ways. I have 3 or 4 ways that work, and I master those things. So let me give you an example.
That's a novel idea.
For Tip Top Canine, it's a dog training franchise I'm involved with, and for Elephant in the Room, I want every single customer to be happy, and I want to get a review to prove it. That's thing number 1. I want objective reviews from happy customers. You can't get them unless you have happy customers. I want reviews. And I will freak out if we don't get them. Just as recently as this morning, I was freaking out with one of my companies because the team was only getting reviews from 1 out of every 2 customers. I want a review from every customer. Yeah. Second, I want to be top in Google. I would like to be top in the search results. This just in. People are using the internet. Okay. And then third, I want my social media ads to be marketing and showing to the people that are likely buyers. Yep. Now, Matt Klein and OxyFresh, what's so great there is OxyFresh has nearly, how many locations now, Matt? You have 2 locations, 3? What's the total?
Me personally?
How many does the brand have? How many locations of OxyFresh?
About
7?
Yeah, we're right up at 500.
Just a little bit outside. Okay, so you guys are doing great, and you already have a proven system. So if people go to oxyfresh.com and they request to learn about a franchise, Matt, why is that a powerful thing for potential franchise owners that you have already figured out what doesn't work and what does work?
Because I think most people, at least, I've done this for a decade, and I've had, thousands and thousands of conversation with people, and most people are good at some things, but very few people are good at everything, right? You might be good at sales because that's your career. You might be good at management because that's your career. You might be good at like marketing because that's been your career. But I very rarely run into someone that's great at everything. And so what they'll find is if they try to start a business on their own, they're going to be really qualified to do about 40% of the work needed. So what a franchise does, it allows you to step inside of the business. We assume, by the way, when someone comes on board, they know nothing. And if we start at that base level, and anything you bring as an individual is just a bonus, right? So when we start, we know that we have marketing under wraps. So if we're reliant on you to be the marketing piece, we're already going to be in trouble, right? So we don't rely on you to be the marketing piece. In terms of the cleaning system, we've already had 16 years of experience in R&D. We know the cleaning system works extremely well. We don't want you going out and trying to find a software package that's going to link with us. We've been building a software package that's specific to our business that gives our franchisees exactly what they need to be an efficient owner. And we've been doing that for 10 years, right? And so for us, we realize that people are going to be good at things, but we also realize that there's going to be some big holes in some of their skills. And it takes everything to have a good business. You guys know this. You can't just be good at one thing, right? If your organization is terrible, but you're a good salesman, your business is going to fail because you can't keep up.
Yeah. Or if you score like 29 points a game, but you're only 5'10".
Yeah.
You know,
there is a very
similar.
limited window to your success there. Because
Matt,
a lot of people do that.
have you seen the movie The Wedding Singer back in the day, Matt? Did you ever see The Wedding Singer?
I love that movie.
There was a
scene. A lot of the time I think about that movie, by the way.
Well, this movie was an Adam Sandler movie, and there were the way the movie the story was, Adam Sandler was a very successful singer. He wanted to be a pop hit artist. It didn't quite work out, so he became a wedding singer.
Oh, yeah.
And his band played a full set, but occasionally the band would have to break. And when they would break, they would cut. He would give the mic over to George.
Yeah.
And George was his bizarre bandmate.
Oh, yeah.
And George had one song he would sing regardless of the circumstance. And let me hit play here, folks.
Give me time to realize my right. Let me love and steal.
Scary.
have danced
Like her.
inside your eyes. How can love be real?
Dun-dun. Here we go, folks. Get ready.
Do you really want to hurt me?
Come on.
Good save, wedding singer.
And this is what he had one song he did. And I think a lot of success is more about learning that one song than it is learning every possible song.
Didn't Bruce Lee say, I fear the man not who has done one kick 10,000 times, but sorry, not the man that's done 10,000 kicks one time, but the man who has done one kick 10,000 times.
Ooh.
I don't know if what you said is true.
It is. Look it up.
Okay.
Which part? The first part or the second part? Because the first part was not true.
I know you used the word Juan several times in that, so I appreciate your bilingual sensitivity for our listeners. Now, improving the branding, okay? We've got to have branding that's acceptable. Now I'm going to get into some specifics here, okay? And again, folks, if you want to learn more about all this, you just go to thrivetimeshow.com/millionaire. This is what we do. We teach you how to do this. So we're going to go to oxyfresh.com, okay? Oxyfresh.com. And the website looks good.
OXI.
Now, the website, if it looks good, that's great. You don't want it to look hood. You want it to look good. So if you look at your website and you go, if you look at your website right now, if you're listening right now and you go to your website and you feel like you have to explain yourself and justify it to someone,
What it was
you see, my cousin Daryl, he came in from out of town and he's going through some website schooling online. And he was like, I could make it. And I was like, okay. And then I couldn't find the password. So we made a Squarespace. Now, we do not rank in Google, but we are top on Bing because Bing is something that I use because I work at Microsoft, didn't I? I mean, stop it. You have to have a website that ranks well, that people can find, who use the internet on the planet Earth. Back to the whole alien thing. Well, aliens probably could find it. I'll tell you what, because I don't use Google. I am off the grid, baby. You're going to be you got to make sure your website looks great. Your business cards look great. Your print pieces, your auto wraps, all these things. And they can cost a fortune to make these things. And that's one great thing that OxyFresh does is you guys provide turnkey systems for people. So Matt Klein, I'm going to have you land the plane there. If people go to oxyfresh.com to learn about buying an OxyFresh, what does it cost? What does the process look like?
Yeah. So the process is we're going to have an introductory call, right? You fill out the form. We get in touch. We have an introductory call. That call is going to be very easy, 10, 15 minutes. I just want to know what you're trying to accomplish, what your background is, what your financial situation is. And then we can answer some questions about OxyFresh. And then, we'll go through the entire in-depth process after that. The investment is $41,900 to become a franchise. That'll give you your protected territory, all the equipment you need for carpet and upholstery, 3 months worth of product, the actual 7-year agreement, plus the training where we'll fly you to Colorado and you spend about a week with us. Okay. Best practice is once you've done that, you still want to have about $25,000 in operating capital because you want to be able to pay for things like insurance and local marketing, employee costs, monthly vehicle costs. So $65,000, $70,000 all together. $41,900 come to us. The rest stays with you for operating. Simple as that.
Wow.
Now, Matt, do people get to meet you? I mean, that's reason why my primary reason why most people fill out the form. Do they get to meet you?
I highly doubt that, but yes, I will be there the whole week. We'll walk through. We have a very tight-knit group of folks here that most of us have been here at least a decade or more. Yeah. We'll start off with a great breakfast with the team, get to know each other, kind of break down the walls, and then we'll get right into training right after that.
Is there any truth to the rumor that both for men and women, you do have to have a beard just like yours in order to be able to buy a franchise? Or is that just...
We are in Colorado, so yes.
Okay.
And when do you play basketball with them?
Attack at Eleanor Roosevelt?
Yes, it was.
Okay, got some games here, but it's not basketball. We have some games, ping pong.
Matt, I don't want you to take this the wrong way, but you sound like you've been working there for 20 years, but you look like you've been there like a day.
Oh,
just a beautiful man.
He is a beautiful man.
It's like he finished his high school basketball career and then just started. Unbelievable. Man, I really do appreciate it. I encourage everybody, though, seriously, if you're thinking about buying a franchise, if you're looking for a new career, a new way to support your family, a new way to own your own business, go to oxyfresh.com and schedule a free assessment, a free consultation. Matt, how many consultations are you doing a week right now? I mean, are you doing like one consultation a year? I mean,
I do about 3 consultations, new ones a day.
Wow.
And I'll do about 3 more in-depth, like hour-long screen shares a day with people that are just in the process. And then I'll do probably 2 to 3 FDD reviews a week. So yeah, we're pretty busy with that. We got some folks here in town right now going through training who have gotten to the end of this process. So we're just, trying to find the right folks to get us to the next level. And we're very excited about the next 1 or 2 years. I mean, we see a lot of incredible potential with everything going on.
Matt, you're sounding like you're smelling terrific. You take care, sir. We'll talk to you soon.
See you guys. Appreciate it.
See you, Matt.
Hey, how's it going? I'm Thomas Crossan, owner and founder of Full Package Media in Dallas, Texas. I've been a coaching client with Clay Clark since the beginning of our business. We started about a year ago, August of last year. I had no clients, no idea what we were doing, no clue really what was going on. And now we've grown to where we've got 6 photographers, we've got office space here. I have an admin, sales person that works for us full time, developing an online system. And a lot of that growth we attribute to Clay helping us. And there's so many things that, his stuff is not, revolutionary. It's not this crazy walk on hot coals and all this stuff. It's just real stuff. And like group interviews, we were totally against group interviews. We were like, no, we're different and we're special, and we need to, do one-on-one interviews so we can find good quality candidates and not just kind of do this group interview thing. And we tried that and failed miserably. We did group interviews. Now we do them every 2 weeks. And it's awesome. It works good. We always have kind of an influx of new people that we can train, get going. He's helped us a lot with our website, graphic design, SEO. SEO is another thing that I thought before I started this business and before Clay that it was kind of a joke, or something that only your Apples of the world and Amazon could get to the top of Google. But Clay said, no, just do these things. Follow these steps and you'll get there. And I think now we look today and we're number 2 for Dallas real estate photography. If you don't believe me, you can look. So we're getting to the top of there. That's really cool. It's really awesome to get leads that people will call you and say, hey, I found you on Google. We want to hear about your services. So that's really great. I'd say there's nobody out there that's not a good coaching client for Clay. Anyone, regardless of the business, it's not about what the business is, what the specialty is. It's about following the steps, doing what he says. It's a good thing. An hour a week, it gets you on track and keeps you kind of in line of what you're doing and what you shouldn't be doing. And it's good to kind of give you some flow and future goals of your business. And I remember our first meeting, we set our goals, and our goal was to do 16 shoots a week. And at the time, me and my business partner / girlfriend Gretchen were like, "Oh, we're never gonna do 16 a week. That's just like crazy." And today we're doing 9, and we did about 54 last week. So he's helped us grow. We put in a lot of hours, a lot of hard work as well. But if you follow his steps and do what he says, there's a lot of principles that he's kind of taught and instilled in us that help us. So. Clay Clark is the way to go. I wouldn't venture out to find someone else. They'd be more expensive and a lot more fluff and no real actionable work and things to get your business growing. So that's the way to go. Thanks.
Hey, Andrew, I have this idea.
Okay, let me hear it.
We've got a little bit of downtime before we interview our next guest. So why don't we cold call Wolfgang Puck and see if he actually picks up the phone?
Let's do it.
Okay, here we go. This old school rotary phone is awesome. Where did you find this phone?
How do you use this thing?
Seriously, previous to now, have you ever used a rotary phone?
I haven't.
Have you ever used a phone that's plugged into a wall?
Hello?
Are you Wolfgang Puck?
Who is this?
What?
Some shows don't need a celebrity narrator to introduce the show, but this show does. 2 men, 8 kids, co-created by 2 different women, 13 multi-million-dollar businesses, Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Thrivetime Show.
3, 2, 1, here we go!
Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, and we'll show you how to get here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here. Started from the bottom, now we here.
Yes, 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 and yes. Thrive Nation, on today's show, we have the incredible opportunity to interview this celebrity chef whose soup I bought for my wife last week, the tomato basil. Mr. Wolfgang Puck, how are you, sir?
Excellent, thank you.
Wolfgang, I'm not sure how much money you make per can of soup, but I bought 2 cans of soup last week. It had nothing to do with interviewing you. I just buy 2 cans of your soup every week for my incredible
thank
wife.
You.
So
now I can keep my kids in school for the whole year.
That's nice. That's nice. Well, you have had so much success, but I'd like to start off at the bottom and the very beginning of your career, and I want to talk about your mother. Your mother was also a chef, and I'd love for you to share about her love of cooking and how that influenced you, and now your love of cooking.
You know, my mother was an incredible person first, a great mother and everything. The only mistake she did in her life is marry my stepfather. You know, I don't even want to get into that. The stepfather was like a terrorist for us, for the family, and drunk and this and that. But my mother was like a saint. Now, every summer when I was like 10, 11, 12, 13 years old, I spent time with her in the kitchen in a resort hotel on a lake in Carinthia, where she used to work. And that's how I got interested already first in pastries. You know, if you're 10, 12 years old, anything sweet, if it's ice cream, a chocolate cake, whatever it is, you get a little wedge of it and you are happy.
Right.
So every time I did that. And then I used to help her bake cakes at home and things like that too. So I got interested fairly early on and, became friendly with some of the male chefs in the hotel where my mother worked. And little by little, I became 14 years old. And then I had to decide what to do, to go to school, a tech school or whatever it would be. I wanted to be an architect, but they only had one school in Vienna. So then I talked to my mom and said, maybe I'm going to become a cook or a pastry cook. And then she had her boss found me a job in Villach at the Post Hotel. And that's where I started at 14. I left my home gladly because of my stepfather. And I started to cook professionally at 14.
So if you're out there and you're feeling sorry for yourself that you had to start working at 18 or 19 or 20. I mean, I worked at Target and Applebee's and DirecTV all at the same time. I was working 60 hours a week on a slow week, 90 hours a week on an average week. If you feel overworked because you have to work as a young guy, I have a motivational quote for you from the incredible American philosopher, Adam Sandler.
Shut up!
I'd love for you to share with the listeners out there. We have so many Americans that listen to the show, and they're not familiar with your culture. Why at the age of 14 did you have to choose a profession or a technical school? Can you walk us through your culture you grew up in and why you had to make a decision so young?
I come from Austria in the southern part, really in the countryside totally. There were only 11 houses, 2 farmers and a few houses. There was no street name, no asphalt on the streets, only dirt roads and everything. If we wanted strawberries or mushrooms, we went up in the forest and picked them in the summer. In the winter, we skied. So it was really in rural Austria. We had no running water, no central air or anything like that. The toilet was 100 meters outside in the garden, in the end of the garden. So I grew up fairly, modest, I would say. We had meat once a week, generally on Sundays. And then the rest, my grandmother and my mother were really good cooks. They cooked a lot of sweets, like a dish called Palatschinken or Kaiserschmarrn or Grießschmarrn, all these famous Austrian hard pastries. And I think Sundays we had Wiener Schnitzel or fried chicken. That was our big splurge, And I think I got lucky because it was all farm to table, really. When my mother made vegetable soup, she went in the garden, picked up a leek, had 2 potatoes, some carrots, a little cauliflower, maybe beans or peas, chopped them up, cook them, and you say, oh my God, they taste so delicious. And even today still, or when I used to go when she was alive, I always told her, Mom, make your vegetable soup. And I went in the summer right from the garden, and, she made it. And I said, oh, it reminds me of my childhood.
So your mom was the queen of organic farm-to-table food before it was a thing. Before it was a category, your mom may have been the innovator of farm-to-table. Now, when you were 17,
totally.
When you were 17, I understand that you decided to leave, and you went to France, where you stayed for 7 years.
Exactly.
What motivated you to move to France and stay there for 7 years?
Well, we had a restaurant from Dijon called Thrivetime. They came to cook in our hotel for a week and cook the specialty of Burgundy. So in Burgundy, the famous thing is snails, with the garlic butter.
Oof.
And they brought the shells with it, and I look at it, oh, shit. Yeah, the snails are in the shells. I see them in the garden sometimes when it's raining, and where my parents lived, and they're eating that. And they were making pate, and they were cooking with a lot of wine, like they make this beef stew with red wine, and I don't know how many bottles they used and everything. So I thought, this is really exciting, the way they cook. So I said, I want to go to France. So I wrote them a letter, and they accepted me as a stagiaire, and I started to work there. And then after 1 year, we got a star in the Guide Michelin, and I looked through the guide, and there were 1-star, 2-star, and 3-star restaurants. So I said, I'm not going home to Austria. I want to work in a 3-star restaurant. And the first restaurant who said yes was Beaumanière, Raymond Tullier at Beaumanière. And I think that was my luck, really, because up to then, I wasn't even sure if I'm going to stay as a cook. I liked it, but I wasn't really passionate about it. So, but when I saw Tullier at Beaumanière, he was the chef and owner. The passion he had for the ingredients, the passion he had for cooking, I said, I want to be like these guys. And I still remember, looking on the terrace, and Queen Elizabeth had a lunch there. Or he brought Pablo Picasso into the kitchen. And I said, you know what? This is what I want to do. On top of it, he had 3 stars and cooked amazing food.
You are a guy who, I know the listeners out there are listening today, they're taking notes. Can you give us the recipe? How many bottles of wine do you have to consume before snails become appealing?
You know what? It depends where you grow up, probably. It's like people eat duck feet or eat the eyes of the fish or eat the brain. So it really depends how you grow up. You look at the Chinese, they eat everything possible.
Wolfgang, you said duck feet. Did you say duck feet?
Yeah.
Wow. That is...
You cook them, obviously you clean them of all the outer shells really well, and then you cook them in a good sauce until they get really gelatinous. Obviously, before you cook them, you cut off the nails and everything so it looks better. You don't want dirty nails in there. And then you eat them and you say, oh, my God, this is really delicious.
Okay. Now you, my understanding is that you started hearing about Cadillacs, Chevrolets, American movies, and then you got inspired to move to the United States. Do you remember that moment when you thought, okay, I'm going to go to the United States of America?
As kids in Austria, we watched cowboy movies, and we watched these movies, I think, about the car chases in San Francisco and everything, and that was amazing. And then the pastry chef, I was working at Maxime's in Paris, at the beginning when I just started there, and he just came back from Chicago. Maxime's had opened an outpost in Chicago, and he told me, you know what, you're young, you should go to America, you make so much more money, and it's amazing, and this and that. And he walked me into it, and then by accident, a year later, a guy came to me, his name is Jean Denoyer from New York, and he needed a chef, and we had the same friend. He lives in New York already, but he had a friend in Paris who was also my friend, and they talked and said, you know what, I have this young Austrian who wants to go to America. Let's talk to him. And so they talked to me, and I got all excited and came to New York.
So what was the first job that you landed in New York?
So my friend Jean Denoyer, who's my friend now, brought me over to be a chef in his restaurant in New York called La Goulue. They have a few different versions of it. They just opened a new one, I think, on 61st Street and Madison. But at that time, it was 70th Street and Madison. And I walked into the restaurant and I said, this is not the cooking I want to do. They had like this bistro, like where they had steak frit and just simple dishes, good dishes maybe, but simple. But I cooked in 3-star restaurants like Bombardier or Maxime's or Hotel de Paris in Monaco and so forth. So I said, nah, I don't want to cook here. And then a friend of mine who owned La Grenouille in New York, Charles Mazon, I went to see him. I knew him from Paris. I went to see him. Maybe he had a job. And he said, I don't have a job right now, but let me call my friend in Chicago. He called his friend in Chicago, and they said, we need a chef in Indianapolis. And I said, Indianapolis, my eyes lit up, because I know of the 500-mile race they have there every May.
Right.
And then I said, I want to go because Indianapolis, I lived in Monaco. I said, in Monaco, they have a big outdoor race. And I said, that would be probably similar to Monaco. So I took the Greyhound bus with the last $100 I had left and took the bus from New York to Indianapolis, which took I think a day and a half or something to get there. And I got there and I said, this is Indianapolis, nothing like Monaco. But I had no more money. And I got a job there as a chef in a French restaurant.
Now, who first inspired you, or what first inspired you to become a restaurant owner?
When I came from Indianapolis to LA, and I worked in a restaurant called Ma Maison. Ma Maison at that time did like $20,000 a month in business. I mean, that was in the 70s.
Wow.
And little by little, we went to 50,000. A year later to 100,000 a month. That was the total revenue a month. Wow. And then we grew and grew and grew. But Patrick, who was the owner then, still didn't trust me really. He still had the manager sign the checks when he wasn't there and everything. Even I was a part owner too. They didn't have the money to pay me, so he gave me like 8 or 10% of the restaurant. And that at that time was 8 or 10% of nothing really, because we didn't make any money. Everything was on COD. When I went to the fish market, I bought the lobster shells to make lobster soup. And some famous restaurant here called Scandia, they bought the lobster meat to make lobster cocktail. So we had no money, but I became successful with the restaurant. People loved the food. It became one of the most talked about restaurants. I remember having Orson Welles come every day for lunch, and I used to sit and talk to him. Even wrote a little introduction for my cookbook. So we became very friendly with a lot of other people too, like Billy Wilder, the Austrian movie director and writer, and with Chuck Lemmon and Susan Blanchett and Bob Newhart. So they all used to come like 2-3 times a week to Ma Maison. But Patrick didn't really trust me. And then I said, I have to do my own restaurant. I want to be in charge. I don't want to ask somebody for a raise. I want to decide what I'm going to cook. Even I did that there anyway. But if I wanted more money, if I wanted to change the plates, anything like that, I had to ask him because he signed the checks. So I said, I want to sign the checks. I want to be the one in charge. And then in 1981, I found this space on Sunset Boulevard. And in 1982, in January 16th, I opened Spago. And the rest is history.
My friend, how did you first get the money needed to open your restaurant, and how did you market Spago?
Okay, so I had a cooking school called Ma Cuisine, and I had a lot of lawyers. I had dentists and some shrinks and everything who used to come to my cooking classes because I made it participation. So they all were working, drinking, and I always had a case of wine there too. So I had like 18 people in my cooking class. And one day, I announced that I want to open my own restaurant, but I don't have the money. So I drew up a business plan with the lawyer and said, okay, we're going to get investors. We need $500,000. And hopefully we have the space on Sunset Boulevard, and hopefully we can raise the money. So we raised the money. I went to the bank and I got $60,000. And we put together then, I think, like 550,000. And then I took the place, signed the lease, and built the restaurant. And the funny thing is, when I left my maison, Patrick told me, you will be back crying for your job. You had a good job here, but you're leaving this and that. I said, well, I'm not coming back. And as a matter of fact, so we opened in January Spago. It was a whole new way of the restaurant, new style of the restaurant with an open kitchen. We had a wood-burning pizza oven, a wood-burning grill. Now it seems like every restaurant has to have that, but at that time it was nothing in LA like that or in California. So
we talk about this often, but probably not enough. If you're going to open up a restaurant or any kind of business at all, you must be remarkable. And Wolfgang Puck just explained to you how his first restaurant, Spago, was different than the other restaurants of its time. It had an open kitchen where nobody else did. It had an open wood-burning stove, and nobody else did. It was just a different kind of restaurant. And if you're out there in this cluttered world of commerce and capitalism, and you want to get in front of your ideal and likely buyers and be successful, you're going to have to be remarkable. But one of the byproducts of being remarkable is that nobody ever receives unanimous praise, ever. It doesn't matter if you're the president of the United States. If you are the president of the United States and you are President Obama, nobody receives unanimous praise. Even President Obama, who had a very high favorability score at one point, would only be approved by 58% of Americans, 57% of Americans. Even President Ronald Reagan, who was loved by Americans for a while there, his approval rating isn't going to go north of 60%, 65%. Nobody receives unanimous praise ever. And you cannot afford to die the death of 1,000 compromises with your business. You must absolutely fight for that purple cow that's going to differentiate your business and make you stand out. Because if you are not memorable, you are forgettable in this cluttered world of commerce and capitalism. And now back to our interview with Wolfgang Puck.
We opened a restaurant, and it became this immediate success, bigger than I ever thought. I wanted to have a little neighborhood restaurant, but it became huge. And I think it was the hardest thing. Every morning I went to the fish market. I went to a farm down in Rancho Santa Fe, the Chino farm, picking up vegetables. So we used really basic food and didn't make it complicated, but we just used the best ingredients. And I remember I had customers like Johnny Carson. We made pizzas at that time. So we made the smoked salmon pizza, duck sausage pizza, and things like that. And Johnny every Friday used to come and take 10 pizzas home. And I said to him, "Oh, Johnny, what are you doing with 10 pizzas? You have a party?" He said, "No, I put them in my freezer. And then when I play cards with my friends, my housekeeper makes me a pizza, and it's just as good as yours." He said, so I said, "Oh, that's not possible." And that's actually how I started my frozen pizza company, because he said he can cook them as well. So it ended up in another business.
So Johnny Carson is the inspiration for your frozen pizza collection.
Yeah.
I want to make sure we don't skip over some powerful knowledge bombs that Wolfgang Puck is breaking down. One, he talked about every morning he would go out and pick out fresh vegetables and fresh produce and fresh meat. Every day he would pick out the freshest ingredients every day. And as you listen to this interview, think about how hard Wolfgang Puck was working at the time. You see, success is built as a result of daily diligence that is implemented over the design of a decade or over 5 years. It's not about being diligent one time. It's not about being highly motivated for one day or having that one big idea. It's about being consistent. The diligence is the difference maker. Diligence means the steady application of effort, and the diligent people always win. Now, I want to tee up this particular portion of the interview. I want to make sure you're not skipping over this part. He said that Johnny Carson and others would basically buy pizzas from him and bring them home and put it in their freezers and then reheat them later. And he noticed that people were doing this, and then that became a product. You see, products just solve problems for your ideal and likely buyers at a profit. Again, entrepreneurs, they simply entrepreneurs, business people, successful business entrepreneurs. All they're doing is finding a problem that is being experienced by many of their ideal and likely buyers, and then they solve that problem at a profit. It is so important that you learn the process of finding a need and filling it. And every entrepreneur I've ever met who's super successful, they have this ability to see the problem that the customer is expressing or speaking about that nobody else really sees. They seem to be able to see the problem that Johnny Carson had. Johnny Carson wanted to have Wolfgang Puck's frozen pizza, but the market didn't, the product didn't exist yet to fill that market need. And so Wolfgang, after he saw this, Johnny Carson routinely buying his pizzas and freezing them, he realized, wow, that's a problem that the market has, and I'm going to fill it. I'm going to find a need and fill it. And that right there is why I'm so fired up about Wolfgang Puck. Grab a pen and a pad, and let's get back into the lab as we interview Wolfgang Puck. Your life is a fascinating one, and I don't expect you to do a bunch of research on me, but I did a bunch of research on you. And I grew up poor. It sounds like you grew up with very humble beginnings. I don't know what it's like to not be on my feet and to work, 12 hours a day. I don't understand that. I've never had a 9-to-5 job where I take a break. I started my first business when I was 16 in my parents' basement. I've been self-employed for a long time. Can I ask you, how many hours a week were you working when you launched Spago?
Well, let me just tell you how I started. When I interviewed somebody for a job, they asked me how many hours they work. I told them 12 hours is only half a day. If you want to work half a day, it's fine. So people looked at me and said, what are you talking about? I said, yeah, isn't 12 hours half a day? And they said, yeah. So I said, well, you can work half a day or you can work more. And, obviously I paid them and everything. But yeah. So we or myself, or for sure, never counted the hours. Can you just for me, just for the benefit of our listeners, there's about 500,000 people that just want to know, what time were you waking up when you were launching Spago? Were you waking up like 4 or 5 a.m.? I used to go at 6:30 in the morning. So I woke up at 6:30 in the morning. I used to go to the fish market downtown.
Yeah.
Pick up the fish and then come back to the restaurant. Maybe by 9 or so, have a coffee, maybe go home, take a shower. I didn't live too far away. And then went back, talked with Mark Deal and Nancy Silverton, who were the chef and the pastry chef, what we're going to do that day. We looked at the fish I bought and everything, and then worked and finished the last customer maybe at midnight, 12:30. And often I used to sit at the end of the night and looking out the window, and I said, I don't know how I'm going to run this restaurant. People want to come. I tell them, come at 10:30. They said, okay, we come at 10:30. So we were cooking from 6, like the service was from 6 until 12:30 at night. Like,
and Wolfgang, was that 7 days a week?
Behind the grill and everything. It was really like crazy. I never thought we're going to be that busy. And I remember the second month we were open, we were positive we made money.
Were you open 7 days a week?
Yeah.
Well, I know you've never counted the hours, but I'm going to help you here because this is. I know you don't. I want the listeners out there to know. It sounds like you're working at least 18 hours a day, and 7 days a week. So you probably logged 126 hours a week. I think that's a fair estimate. 120. So that is that is awesome, and that is so encouraging for somebody out there who feels like, man, I'm working so hard. Because now people look at you and say, wow, but a lot of people don't want to focus on the grind and the energy and the effort you put in all those years to build this thing. Can you comment on, there was Japanese investors that reached out to you to open a Spago in Tokyo. And if I get the story correct, I think they said, we would love to open up a Spago in Tokyo. We'd love for you to help us. But if not, we'll just open it on our own. Is that correct?
Yeah, exactly.
As you begin to scale your business, somebody is going to want to copy your business plan and your systems exactly. It's going to happen, so just go ahead and emotionally prepare yourself.
So what happened is these Japanese people came over, And because we got so much press so fast, the whole new sensation and open kitchen. Nobody had the white tablecloth restaurant with the kitchen open, and it was like a theater stage and everything. So when they came over and they wanted to do a restaurant, and at first I said, no, forget it. I barely can run one restaurant. How can a run a restaurant in Tokyo so far away? So they came back maybe 3 or 4 months later, and with the plans, with the kitchen layout, exactly what I had and everything. As a matter of fact, it was funny because just like Spago, it was up the hill a little bit from Sunset. They found the thing on the second floor of a little building that you had to go up some steps. And they lined the kitchen up with the pizza oven, with the pasta cooker, with everything, the cold station, exactly like I had it. They took pictures of the furniture. They knew where to get the chairs, where to get everything.
If you are an entrepreneur, I'm telling you, trust nobody. You have so many competitors out there that are looking just to copy your stuff. They're going to want to copy all your business cards, your print pieces, your strategies, your processes, every checklist. People are going to want to copy it. So once you begin to nail down your business model and the systems that work, now you want to look at copywriting and trademarking the things you've worked so hard to build and test in this marketplace. Again, get out there, try to sell it. Get it in front of the marketplace. Don't listen to what people say about your product, but look at whether people buy your product. Don't sit there and run your product idea by a bunch of your good buddies and they all say, yeah, I'm definitely going to buy it. Go out there and actually market the product and see how many people buy the product. And then when people don't buy the product, ask them what you could do to improve that product or service or restaurant or business. And then once you get that business model refined, that product refined, once you create something that the world likes and the world wants to buy, it is absolutely vital as soon as possible, once you nail it down and before you scale it, that you take the time to trademark and copyright the core aspects of your business model that make it unique.
So they basically told me that, and I didn't copyright the name Spago or anything like that. So they told me, we're going to open Spago with you or without you. So I said, okay, let's open it with me. So they gave me 1/3 of the business. And then we went, and the year after, in 83 in April, we opened Spago in Tokyo, which was a trip. And I took the pastry chef with me, and I took a chef with me, and a manager with me, and they all stayed there. I stayed there maybe 2 weeks, and it was an experience for me, I must say. You know what? I never thought that after a year, I'm going to open my second restaurant so far away. And then 6 months later, in September, I opened a restaurant in Santa Monica called Chinois, which was my version of a Chinese restaurant. And that came like by accident. So somebody owned this little building there. And they said, oh, Wolfgang, we want a Spago in Santa Monica, which is like 12 miles from the original Spago. And I said, no, I don't want to do another Spago. It's too boring doing the same thing. And they said, so what do you want to do? I said, I want to do a Chinese restaurant. So then the guy said, okay, whatever you do, I'm sure it will be good. So we opened this Chinese restaurant, but I didn't know about Chinese food. I never cooked Chinese food. I never cooked in a wok. So I said, okay, I want to do my style of Chinese food. And it really became this sensation. And even yesterday, it was Chinese New Year. We celebrated at Chinois. A group of Chinese people who came from China and ate the food. And the first thing they said, we never had Chinese New Year. We never had a menu like that in Beijing. They were from Beijing. They said, we're going to come now for every Chinese New Year celebration you have. So even the Chinese said, you know what, this is really interesting. Now, some local Chinese restaurants didn't like it because we were packed. You had to reserve 2 weeks ahead of time. And their restaurant was maybe half empty, and it was different. And they said, that's a Caucasian cooking Chinese food. How can that happen? So you
right.
Some controversy with it.
I'm going to keep harping on this idea because it is so important that somebody out there gets this idea today. Seth Godin, the best-selling author of The Purple Cow, Transform Your Business by Being Remarkable, writes, if you're remarkable, it's likely that some people won't like you. That's part of the definition of remarkable. Nobody gets unanimous praise ever. The best a timid can hope for is to be unnoticed. criticism comes to those who stand out. Wolfgang was out there in the marketplace generating a buzz. He's out there creating Chinese food, but yet he's a Caucasian guy. And you know what happened? Certain people got upset with him. And you know what's going to happen to you? Certain people are going to get upset with you, because if you are remarkable, somebody won't like it. Just read my iTunes reviews to see. Nobody ever receives unanimous praise. It doesn't matter how hard I work on this podcast. It doesn't matter how hard you work on your business. It doesn't matter what I say on this show or what I don't say on this show. It doesn't matter what you do in your business or what you don't do. Even if you do everything perfectly to the absolute best of your ability, you will receive criticism, because the best the timid can hope for is to be unnoticed. Criticism comes to those who stand out. You don't look Chinese to me. Do you have any Chinese ancestry at all there, Wolfgang? Because you make some incredible Chinese food.
I tell everybody I'm part Chinese. My mother was Chinese, half Chinese, so it's just a joke. But no, but I think today, you look in America, doesn't matter if you are from Africa or if you are from England or wherever you are from, you can cook great food as long as you love food and as long as you have passion.
Now, we interviewed recently a man by the name of Shep Gordon, a man who I know you know very well. Could you talk to me about your relationship with Shep and the role he played in helping you to become the celebrity chef that you are today?
It's so interesting because when I know Shep Gordon for many years through music theater to Thrive, who passed away already. So when Shep was in LA and he produced movies, he was in the record business with Alice Cooper and all these guys. So, and we became very friendly because he liked food. I became friends with anybody who likes food. Like, that was awesome world. And then I said Shep Gordon. So one time we were with Shep. He came to us. We did the whole thing in Hawaii. I think it was on a big island of Hawaii, like a chef thing, like what's called the bounty of Hawaii. So we had different chefs from all over the country, a little bit like Paul Prudhomme, Alice Waters, Jonathan Waxman, I don't know, maybe a few more. And we were like the main singers. So then, when it was over, the next day, we were all sitting there for lunch, and I had my chef from Postrio, Mitch Rosenthal, make lunch for us, and then they gave us a bill. I was polite because we had some salads, but he actually went and made the food. And then they gave us the bill, and he said, what is wrong with this picture here? You guys work here? He said, did they pay you? I said, no. They gave us a free room and paid for the trip. And he said, yeah, but they charge every customer, and now they even charge you. So he said, you guys have an agent? I said, no. And he said, maybe we have to get and plan it better. So I called my friends. I called Paul and Alice and Emerald and Jonathan and I don't know how many we are, maybe 8 or 10 chefs, Mark Miller and Larry Forgione. And so then we all sat together in a restaurant in San Francisco and decided he should become our agent. Now, at that time, I started to get really busy already. So what a chef really did a lot then for Emerald, for Dean Faring. I was so busy already because I owned all these restaurants already by then. I did consulting for an airline. I did consulting for the mansion in Dallas, for the Hana Ranch in Maui, for the Remington in Houston. So I didn't need really chefs to do work for me because I couldn't go and cook in New Orleans or in Dallas or whatever and get $5,000 a day, which at that time for us was a lot of money. But he helped a lot all these other guys who did not have TV experience. Like I did the Johnny Carson show and David Letterman show and Good Morning America from 86 on. So I was already on TV at that time. There were no chef really was on TV as much as I was. But, he helped a lot of other chefs and he did a great job with them. And we are still great friends. Now, did he influence my career? He did. Why? And what was really positive, he said, don't sell yourself cheap, so charge enough money.
Now, your food, your name, your brand is synonymous with cuisine, with gourmet, with a celebrity chef. Why have you decided to put your name on all of your products. A lot of people, pull back from that. Why have you decided to put your name on all of the products?
Curiosity. I am very curious about doing all different things. So in the 80s, a friend of mine told me, okay, we don't have any good soups there. You have Campbell soup and Progresso, but they are not really quality. Why don't you devise recipes and make soup? So we went then and made a really delicious soup, just like we made it in the restaurant. Now we had to put it in canned too, but at least the ingredients were good. Like at that time when you tasted like my French onion soup and their French onion soup of the other companies, it was like day and night. So that became pretty successful too then. So I was always interested in different things. So then I remember Lou Waterman came up to me and says that they built a Universal City Walk and says, Wolfgang, why you don't build a Spago up there? We really need a restaurant. I said, City Walk is a tourist area there. People don't want to spend that money and spend that much time. They come and visit Universal Film Studios. So that's when I started the first cafe. And now we have cafes like that in airports around the world and in Disney World and places like that. So I think for me, when there's something new, I really love it. And then years later, in the 90s, I was friendly with George Foreman. And George Foreman and a friend of mine made up this grill, the Foreman Grill, which became a sensation and hugely successful. And then the guy who worked with George told me and said, Wolfgang, why you don't do something like that? I said, well, okay. And then we started to make pots and pans. We tried to sell them on QVC. I didn't know how to sell them or whatever. I think they were way too expensive and whatever. So then we sold them off at HSN. And then I talked to the people at HSN and we made a cheaper version of that. Still good quality, but not as expensive, not as thick, the iron and everything. So then that became a really good business all of a sudden. So I stayed with it and I'm still there for over 20 years now. So why do I do it? Sometimes I ask myself, why do you do all that stuff? Like 2 years ago, there was a journal did an article about me, and then they asked me, so Wolfgang, you do all these things, and what is your dream? What you're still thinking of? And I said, my dream would be to go to Harvard. I never went to high school. I never went to college or anything. Sure enough, a few days later, the dean of Harvard Business School calls and says, Wolfgang, I have the perfect thing for you. It's called OPM, Owner-President Management. It's about 3 months long, not in one course. It's 3 times a month. You should try to do that if you really want to go, if that is really your dream. Wow. So what did I do? I enrolled at Harvard. So I have 1 more month to go. So in March, end of March, I'm going to graduate.
Well, congratulations. That's exciting, my friend.
I know. So I said, who would have known when I come from this little village in Austria, where the school had 2 rooms only, 2 classrooms, and now I went to Harvard. It's like, to me, it is like a dream. Sometimes when I think, is it really true? That's funny. But what it is really is my curiosity, I think. I'm interested in so many different things. I'm curious with so many different things. So that's why I do so many things. And sometimes Galila, my wife, tells me, when are you going to rest? When are you going to be? You're not so young anymore. You think you're young, but you're not that young anymore. Why you don't just relax and don't do all that stuff? I say, well, but I like it. So,
my friends, you see, Wolfgang Puck isn't in a rush to retire because he loves what he does. And I'll never forget, years ago, I was reading a book called Life and Death, which is written by Russell Simmons. And Russell Simmons is the legendary co-founder of a company called Def Jam. They introduced the world to the Beastie Boys, to LL Cool J, to Jay-Z, and other massive hip-hop artists. He essentially is known as like the father of hip-hop. He also launched the Def Comedy Jam, and he was the founder of the Fat Farm clothing and apparel line. But he says the goal is to be able to live your life the way that Michael Jordan played basketball or Marvin Gaye sang a song. To be able to feel the way you feel when you laugh at a joke, but to feel that way all the time. Wow. What would it be like if you could build a business that would allow you the time freedom and financial freedom to do whatever you wanted to do on a daily basis, to pursue your goals for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun? What would it be like if you could do that? Because once you get to a place in life where every day is a perfect day that has been perfectly designed by you, it is so exciting. Yeah, there will be some interruptions and a few frustrations along the way, but that is infinitely exciting for me. And I can honestly tell you, that's what I love about doing this show, is because I know that every time I interview these guests, this is what the Lord wants me to do. I'm doing what I'm called to do. I'm helping great people like you. And I know that you're going to find that business model that's going to create that time and financial freedom for you as well. Now back to our interview with Wolfgang Puck.
I am 69.
Well, you look like you're probably, 34. Now, if I had to guess, you're probably eating all that organic stuff your mom taught you about as a kid. That's probably what's going on right there. Now, I want to ask you this because there's so many listeners that are just infinitely curious about this. How do you organize the first 4 hours of your day, and what time do you typically wake up?
So I get up like at 6 in the morning. At 6:30, I wake up my son, Oliver, and then, I read the paper a little bit. I wake him up. And then we have a trainer who comes, and he exercises with me in the morning, or sometimes he doesn't exercise when he has to go to school or whatever. But the school he goes to is 5 minutes away, so it makes it really easy. So then after that, I take a shower, get ready, and then I look what are my appointments for today, which I have to keep, So, and then by 9 o'clock, I leave the house and I go or to Spargo or to the Bel Air Hotel or to Catskill Beverly Hills and look what's going on there. Now, on Wednesdays, I might go in the morning early, like right after the exercise at 7:30. I go to the farmer's market in Santa Monica. Sometimes I go downtown also to the fish market still. I don't have to, but I like it. So, and then at 12 o'clock, generally I go to Spargo because we have lunch, or the Bel Air Hotel, we have lunch. But then 2 hours there. Then I come here to my office and look through all the things I have to do and, plan new restaurants and do all that stuff. And then at 6 o'clock, and sometimes at 4:30, I go and play tennis for an hour. Especially if I'm stressed about something, tennis is good because I can hit the ball as hard as I want to.
Right.
He doesn't talk back. Yeah. So then I go do that. And then around 6:37, I have dinner with my wife, Galila, and my 2 boys, Alexander, Oliver, and right now Byron also, who is, training to be a chef and restaurateur too. And then I go back to the restaurant maybe for a few hours. Like last night, I was down at Chicago for Chinese New Year, and I sat with the Gwyneth Paltrow for a while, and with Dr. Alatraj, who is the doctor for the Rams, and we talked about the Super Bowl, and walked in the kitchen and talked to Chef Rene for a while. And then at 11 o'clock, I drove home.
So you went home at 11 o'clock last night?
Yeah.
Now, you are a guy who, you're involved in a lot of things. You got your own brands of food. You have books you've written. You have restaurants you run.
Yeah.
How many different businesses, and maybe you don't even know the exact answer, but how many different businesses are you involved in right now, or different locations? How many different businesses?
Okay. To make it simpler for you, we have really 3 divisions in our business, or I have 3 divisions in my business. One is called fine dining. We have all the restaurants. We have 27 restaurants around the world. Like we are in LA, Las Vegas, Dallas, Chicago, Dallas, New York, Detroit, Washington, Orlando, London, Istanbul, Singapore, Bahrain, Qatar, and so forth. Maui. So we have 27 of them, and 2 more in the building process. One in Washington, D.C., and then one in Los Angeles here at the Bantry Hotel that we're going to run the whole food service. So we're working on that right now. And then the most exciting process is going to be, but it's a few years away, we are working with Frank Gehry to open a restaurant on the beach here in LA. So that's going to be a big project, and but it's a few years away.
Now, I want to ask you, Bob, I have two final questions for you. You have this restaurant in New York that you've launched. Tell us about this newest venture and what it's like and why all the listeners should go check it out.
Yeah. Now, you know what? Cut in New York at the Four Seasons Hotel downtown is really a jewel in a way. It is a steak restaurant, a steakhouse restaurant, but with a lot of different options. If you're a vegan, you can go there and have the most exciting vegan meal. Like I was there and I had the risotto with celery and black truffle. I said, you know what? I don't need meat if I have a dish like that. But we also have turbo, which is my favorite fish. We also have black bass, which is great, and lobster. And then we have meats from all over a little bit, but also a lot of local ingredients. We use local beef and local lamb from New York State, actually. And from Pennsylvania, we get the duck and chicken. So it's really locally oriented. And it was designed by Jacques Garcia, who is really an amazing designer. So you can come to the bar and have little snacks at the bar, from the mini burgers to a steak tartare or some Asian-influenced dishes. And we have little biscuits, like a Southerners biscuits with caviar and smoked salmon. So you can have that, or you go to the restaurant, and there you have great appetizers, great raw fish dishes and things like that, salads. And then if you love steak, like one of my favorite one is the double New York steak, cooked on the bone. And I cook it like medium rare and cook the bone really well done, so it gets really hot inside too. And then just keep it simple, put a little sea salt on top and maybe a little salt from my French fries, because I love French fries and onion rings. And then for dessert, I love pies. One of the great legends in America is all these different pies. If it's a pecan pie or a key lime pie or a banana cream pie, or a raspberry or blackberry pie or blueberry pie. So I'm bringing this whole new idea of modernizing it and bring it there so people can have a great steak and maybe a blueberry pie with some blueberry ice cream for dessert, or maybe a pecan pie. So for me, it's really exciting also to reinvent the old school dishes and make them new again.
Wolfgang, my final...
I think if you go to Cut, I think you can come to the bar, just hang out at the bar, have a drink, and have some bar snacks, but really good, interesting one. Like right now, we have a great sourdough right there, and we make a grilled cheese sandwich with black truffles. And you know what? People say, I'm just going to have a dinner with that, have a glass or 2 glasses of red wine, and have that's for dinner, the grilled cheese sandwich with black truffles. Or people don't want truffles, we make it without the truffles. But I think it's really simple and really, really tasty.
Now, for the listeners out there that are taking notes, where's this located again? You said it's in the Four Seasons?
In the Four Seasons Hotel downtown on Church Street.
Okay. Now, my final question for you. Listeners out there who won't get a chance to talk to you one-on-one, if you're sitting down there with a young entrepreneur today, and they're asking you for, Wolfgang, what's the one piece of advice? What's the one, if you could give me just one piece of the golden keys to the universe, talk to me. What's the advice you would give all the entrepreneurs out there?
Well, I really believe, if you are passionate about whatever you do, if it's in the food business, in the tech business, I think you have to follow your dreams and don't take no for an answer. There are so many naysayers out there who said you won't be successful. And like when I told people, 38 years ago that I'm going to make pizza, they said, Wolfgang, you're crazy. Nobody's going to come to your restaurant and eat pizza. And then we invented a new style of pizza, and it became all the rage. And, it spawned out hundreds of restaurants where they make different pizzas. So don't take no for an answer, but also be patient. A lot of people think success is overnight. Success is like walking up steps into a big building, It's one step at a time, and I think that's really important. But I tell all the young chefs especially, too, to be patient. Go to work in good restaurant. Make the mistakes there. Learn there. And then, if you're ready, you say, okay, I know cooking is an important part of the restaurant business, but you have to manage a lot of people. You won't have to make money because if not, you won't stay in business. So it's a lot of components, to run a restaurant or any business.
Wolfgang, it is an honor to have you on the show. Hopefully this is not the worst interview you've ever been on. I thank you so much, my friend.
Never. You know what? I really think for me, if I can inspire some young people and tell them, you know what? I started with nothing. I had not a penny left when I went to Indianapolis. I had to stay in a motel. I couldn't check out. I had no money to pay for it. But I think at the end of the day, if you work hard and you think for yourself, 12 hours is only half a day. I guarantee you, if you're patient, you have passion, you will be successful.
Wolfgang, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening.
I know I'm getting ready for the Oscars almost. So.
Oh, wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, you take care, sir.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much.
All right. So if you've been listening to today's show, there's a lot you can unpack. There's a lot of specific steps that Wolfgang taught, but I just want to kind of recap a few of the knowledge bombs that I think that every listener out there should be very aware of. 1, Wolfgang Puck was willing to work 7 days a week to make his dreams happen. I'm not saying you should work 7 days a week, but I think you should ask the question to yourself rhetorically, how many hours per week am I actually willing to work to turn my goals and dreams into reality? Because Wolfgang Puck was willing to work 7 days a week. Maybe you want to work 5 days a week or 6 days a week, but you have to be intellectually honest about what you're asking for. If you want to be great, you've got to be willing to invest great amounts of hours. And if you want to be average, you got to put in average amount of hours. And that's just what's required to be successful. Second teaching point. Wolfgang Puck talked about this. He said that he went out there and borrowed, he raised money. He raised over $500,000 of investment capital to start his first restaurant after he'd been working for years for other people. And I would ask you this, what's your risk tolerance? Are you willing to raise $500,000 to start something you believe in? Or maybe $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000. But you've got to be very self-aware about your risk tolerance and how much money you're willing to bet on your big idea. Knowledge bomb number 3, action item number 3 that I heard during today's show is Wolfgang created a purple cow. When Wolfgang created his first restaurant, Spago, he created a business that was very different from any other business. It was the only restaurant that he knew of with an open kitchen and a wood-fired oven. It was the first restaurant that did a lot of things differently than everybody else, and that's why he stood out. When he started his first Asian restaurant, he was a Caucasian guy starting an Asian restaurant. Again, these are purple cows. These are remarkable ideas, and that is why his businesses stood out in the cluttered world of commerce and capitalism. So I want you to ask yourself today, what are your goals for your faith, your family, your finances, your fitness, your friendship, and your fun? What are your goals for your faith, family, finances, fitness, friendship, and fun? And what are you willing to give up in order to achieve those goals? And if you enjoyed today's show, I would encourage you to share today's show with a friend or a family member. You're listening to the Thrivetime Show on your radio and podcast download. And therefore, we end each and every show with a boom because we believe that the big, overwhelming, optimistic momentum that Wolfgang Puck brought to his business on a daily basis is what you need to succeed. And so now, without any further ado, 3, 2, 1, boom.
I'm Rachel with Tip Top Canine, and we just want to give a huge thank you to Clay and Vanessa Clark.
Hey guys, I'm Ryan with Tip Top Canine. Just want to say a big thank you to Thrive 15. Thank you to Make Your Life Epic. We love you guys, we appreciate you, and really just appreciate how far you've taken us.
This is our old house, right? This is where we used to live a few years ago. This is our old neighborhood. See, it's nice, right?
So this is my old van and our old school marketing. And this is our old team. And by team, I mean it's me and another guy.
This is our new house with our new neighborhood.
This is our new van with our new marketing, and this is our new team. We went from 4 to 14, and I took this beautiful photo. We worked with several different business coaches in the past, and they were all about helping Ryan sell better and just teaching sales, which is awesome, but Ryan is a really great salesman. So we didn't need that. We needed somebody to help us get everything that was in his head out into systems, into manuals and scripts, and actually build a team. So now that we have systems in place, we've gone from 1 to 10 locations in only a year.
In October 2016, we grossed 13 grand for the whole month. Right now it's 2018, the month of October. It's only the 22nd. We've already grossed a little over 50 grand for the whole month, and we still have time to go. We're just thankful for you, thankful for Thrive and your mentorship, and we're really thankful that you guys have helped us to grow a business that we run now instead of the business running us. Just thank you times 1,000.
So we really just want to thank you, Clay, and thank you, Vanessa, for everything you've done, everything you've helped us with. We love you guys.
The Thrivetime Show, 2-day interactive business workshops, are the highest and most reviewed business workshops on the planet. You can learn the proven 13-point business systems that Dr. Zellner and I have used over and over to start and grow successful companies. I mean, we get into the specific steps on what you need to do to optimize your website. We're going to teach you how to fix your conversion rate. We're going to teach you how to do a social media marketing campaign that works. How do you raise capital? How do you get a small business loan? We teach you everything you need to know here during a 2-day, 15-hour workshop. It's all here for you. You work every day in your business, but for 2 days you can escape and work on your business and build these proven systems so now you can have a successful company that will produce both the time freedom and the financial freedom that you deserve. You're going to leave energized, motivated, but you're also going to leave empowered. The reason why I've built these workshops is because as an entrepreneur, I always wish that I had this. And because there wasn't anything like this, I would go to these motivational seminars, no money down, real estate, Ponzi scheme, get motivated seminars, and they would never teach me anything. It was like you went there and you paid for the big chocolate Easter bunny, but inside of it, it was a hollow nothingness. And I wanted the knowledge, and they're like, oh, but we'll teach you the knowledge after our next workshop. And the great thing is we have nothing to upsell. At every workshop, we teach you what you need to know. There's no one in the back of the room trying to sell you some next big get-rich-quick, walk-on-hot coals product. It's literally, we teach you the brass tacks, the specific stuff that you need to know to learn how to start and grow a business. And I encourage you to not believe what I'm saying, and I want you to Google the Z66 auto auction. I want you to Google elephant in the room. Look at Robert Zellner and Associates. Look them up and say, are they successful because they're geniuses, or are they successful because they have a proven system? When you do that research, you will discover that the same systems that we use in our own business can be used in your business. Come to Tulsa, book a ticket, and I guarantee you it's going to be the best business workshop ever, and we'll even give you your money back if you don't love it. We've built this facility for you, and we're excited to see you.